In June of 1871, aboard a wooden-hulled ship called the Polaris, an obsessed adventurer named Charles Francis Hall set out on a voyage bound for the North Pole. Within 4 months, he was dead, but not of natural causes. To solve a mystery that spans nearly a century, we will witness an autopsy on a mummified corpse. That astonishing examination will be the first stop on our journey into the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. Take a ride in the world's longest car. Find out how to strike a bargain in China without saying a word. Plunge into a solid gold bathtub in Japan. Discover how you can rent an apartment in Germany for a few cents and a prayer. Watch a lumberjack transform tall timber into massive works of art. Wade into a lake to create a most unusual sculpture. Watch television in an entirely new way as a gigantic electronic canvas. Get into the ring with a Japanese sumo wrestler who happens to be a dog. Enter a dark world where terror was a tool of justice. Run with a team of Alaskan Huskies on a grueling 1,000-mile race through the frozen north. Check out the menu for pampered pooches in Japan. Hunt for survival with a pack of wild dogs in Kenya. The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to.
Believe it or not.
Medicines like these were considered standard equipment aboard any ship bound for the Arctic in the late 1880s. They are remedies for ulcers, gout, cholera, and supposedly even cancer. And all of them have one thing in common. Arsenious acid, arsenic, a deadly poison. Such curatives were carried on board by a certain Dr. Emil Bessels when he joined the expedition to the North Pole, mounted by Charles Francis Hall. The good doctor was a well-educated man, trained in the safe use of such hazardous chemicals. He was the ship's surgeon and chief scientist of the expedition. Charles Francis Hall was in overall command. He was an eccentric, blustering, self-educated man with no scientific credentials. A dreamer, driven by the obsession to be the first man to reach the North Pole at any price. As the Polaris reached Arctic waters, Hall's crew could sense the growing dissension between the captain and the scientific staff. To Dr. Bessels, Hall was little more than an uneducated adventurer, unworthy of command. For 6 months, the Polaris sailed north. Then in November, the robust captain collapsed after drinking coffee given to him by Bessels, who then offered to prescribe the proper cure. Suspicious, perhaps paranoid, Hall preferred to prescribe for himself. Despite that precaution, however, in his final moments he claimed that he was being murdered. Hall's journey ended in a shallow Arctic grave, later marked with an appropriate stone. At the time, an official inquiry ruled his death an accident, yet at Dartmouth University, almost 100 years later, writer Chauncey Loomis reopened the investigation. To him, Charles Francis Hall was a romantic figure, a man worthy of a biography.
There was a mystery involved. I'd known that Hall, when he was dying, said that he'd been murdered. I couldn't write that biography without investigating how the man died. Because the man died saying that he was being murdered, I simply had to do the best I could to get at the truth of that.
With pilot Weldy Phipps and pathologist Franklin Paddock, Loomis set out on a flight north to exhume and examine Hall's corpse. Their destination was a bit of Arctic tundra called Thank God Harbor, named by Hall himself before it became his final resting place. To get to this point in his search for the truth, Investigator Chauncey Loomis had spent almost 3 years and had unraveled the bureaucratic red tape that could have prevented the journey. After traveling nearly 3,000 miles, he was now only inches away from the frozen body of Charles Francis Hall.
The autopsy itself took, 6 hours because it had to be performed with the body still in the grave. The body was embedded in ice, and it would have taken us days to have gotten it out. The flag was over his face. We had to peel the flag back. His face was not the face of an individual human being. It was more like a death mask.
Behind the mask, however, Loomis sought vital clues.
We took samples from the skull, lung, intestine, stomach. We took hair. We took a fingernail, which turned out to be crucial because that's where the residue of arsenic was found.
A sliver of fingernail, a few strands of hair. Minute fragments from the long-dead body of Charles Francis Hall. In a laboratory like this, those bits and pieces of his body were subjected to sophisticated tests. The results provided incontrovertible proof that Charles Francis Hall was poisoned with arsenic. But by whose hand? His own? Perhaps. Hall didn't trust Bessel's and did dose himself with the medicine on board the ship, most of which contained arsenic. Yet, given Bessel's ambition and Hall's obsession, murder cannot be ruled out. Both men are long since dead, beyond cross-examination. Only Hall's mummified corpse remains, still preserved by the Arctic he sought to conquer, the Arctic that led him, as it has led so many others, to his death. Believe it or not.
Magic of raisins.
You can turn a peanut butter sandwich into something extra sweet and chewy. You can make an ice cream sundae lots full of a rolling gooey. You can make an appetizer out of creamy cheese and raisins spread upon a stalk of celery.
Raisins give a tangy taste to almost anything you make, so let some raisins add a touch of magic to your life.
You can make a yogurt really better or a toasted cheese with cheddar. You can make a barbecue or even Irish stew or French ragout, a picnic, have a rack of lamb, whatever turns you on, 'cause raisins add a touch of magic to your life.
Sail away, go Hawaiian, riding away, Hawaiian punch, sail away. Nothing tastes like Hawaiian punch.
You only have to taste it once.
Taste of a place, ooh, far, far away. Come on and go Hawaiian, Hawaiian punch. Sail away, Hawaiian, sail away.
Traveling in style. It takes money, but it can certainly be worth the cost. This customized limousine is one of the most extraordinary cars in the world. It isn't the telephones. There are two of them that make this car so very special. Or the two television sets. Or the bar. Or even the bartender. Thank you. No. What distinguishes this car from all others in the world is its length. It is, in fact, the longest automobile in the world, 40 feet. Stood on end, it would be over 3 stories tall. It weighs over 10,000 pounds, took more than a year to customize, has a 40-gallon gas tank, and gets about 5.5 miles to the gallon. Oh, just pull over to the side, please. Of course, a car like this creates special problems. Like finding a parking space it can squeeze into. And then, of course, there are all the other extra expenses. Living well has its price. It all adds up bit by bit. But then, as the rich folks say, if you have to ask how much it costs, you can't afford it. There are some things, however, that money supposedly can't buy. On the other hand, Jacob Fugger, one of the wealthiest men of the 16th century, decided it was worth a try. In Augsburg, Germany, in the year of our Lord 1519, Jacob Fugger established a most unusual community. It still thrives as a self-contained settlement, a neat arrangement of cottages and apartments where the rent has remained constant for 450 years. To live here in tidy, well-lit rooms, renters pay about 66 cents a year. There is a catch. To enjoy these accommodations, tenants must meet certain conditions. One of them is to perform a daily ritual for the sole benefit of their landlord and benefactor. The price is a prayer for the long-dead Jacob Fugger. The required remembrance of Jacob Fugger has been a daily act for over 4 centuries. The ultimate fate of Jacob Fugger's soul, however, remains a mystery. In northern China, a different kind of mystery surrounds the activities of the marketplace. Among mule traders, for example, the merchandise is available for free and public examination. The price, however, is never openly discussed. Business dealings are conducted silently through an ancient system of subtle hand signals. Verbal haggling is considered impolite. Bargaining takes place under wraps, hidden from view by a handy shirt tail, while seller and buyers engage in unrelated conversation about such innocent topics as the weather or neighborhood gossip, seemingly unconcerned about the negotiations being conducted by their fingertips. A precise system, it is also a comfortable one, conducted at leisure. Each negotiator is confident that the final contract will remain as prudently private as an expenditure in Japan is conspicuously extravagant. I feel that when you talk about money, one should be properly attired. It has been said there are only 2 things on which you can absolutely rely: gravity and greed. Water always runs downhill. And no matter how much money you have, you never seem to have enough. Here at the Funabara Hotel in Shizuoka, Japan, the two elements have come together. A solid gold bathtub, probably the largest single golden object in the world, full of hot mineral water. For a fee, you can slip into it, soak away your cares, and luxuriate in the knowledge that you are surrounded by almost $2.5 million worth of pure gold. And what does this noble experience cost? About $20 for a 5-minute submergence. And I assure you, there's a line outside waiting to get in. Proof of another ancient adage. A fool and his money are soon parted. Now, if you will excuse me. Believe it? Or not? A billionaire could not deplete his fortune even if he spent $1,000 a day for 2,500 years. Believe it or not? In a moment, run with a pack of wild dogs on the hunt in Kenya. Dine in a gourmet restaurant for dogs only. Watch pulsing neon tubes become startling works of art. Enter the ring in Japan with a champion sumo wrestler who happens to be a dog. Witness the horror of the medieval quest for truth and justice.
Can you imagine sneezing in one of these? I almost did. I'm Wally Schirra. When I suffered cold symptoms on my space mission, I took Actifed. An Actifed containing triprolidine gave me fast, effective relief. It's the nasal decongestant antihistamine tablet most prescribed by doctors over the last 10 years for relief of nasal congestion, runny nose, and sneezing. Today, full-strength Actifed is available without a prescription. Actifed, most prescribed by doctors, now available without a prescription.
Getting stronger.
We've put more muscle in Fruit of the Loom underwear.
Lasting longer.
If our Superman waistband didn't get you.
Getting stronger.
Our really strong super seams will.
Lasting longer.
Still strong on value.
So if you don't wear us,
Change your underwear.
I'll turn over a new leaf.
Fruit of the Loom men's cotton briefs, only $1.97 per brief.
And we're the official thermal underwear of the U.S. Alpine Ski Team. Who out there likes peaches?
Peaches! Peaches!
Now, for everyone who loves peaches, there's a great new cereal that tastes like peaches and cream. New Peaches and Cream Instant Quaker Oatmeal.
It's a peach of a morning. It's a peach of a day.
Peaches and Cream is a new Quaker flavor she really warms up to.
It's a peach of a morning.
New Peaches and Cream Instant Quaker Oatmeal.
Monday, a marriage that will blow you away, and a human bee pyramid that's incredible. Then, the ferocious lion air attack tests the mighty giant defense on Monday Night Football.
All starting at 8, 7 Central.
Neon signs, busted or otherwise, are as much a part of the American landscape as two-lane blacktops and hamburger stands. As a serious art form, however, they have rarely been given an honored place in a museum. Until now. collected or created by Lily Lackich, these are indeed works of art. Inspired by a love affair with neon, it began when Lily was 5 years old, traveling across the country with her father. As a child, to her, the signs were part of a passing parade of colorful roadside attractions. As an artist, they have become her full-time, permanent occupation. And whether whimsical or surrealistic, they come with a serious price tag. This one, on display here in Los Angeles, goes for $15,000. Lily calls it Blessed Oblivion. The original Mona Lisa was painted around 1503 by Leonardo da Vinci. This version is by Lily Lackich, and only time will tell whether it will age as well as the original, or if neon art is a glorious but passing fancy. Unlike sculptors who use modern technology, another artist, 88 years old, turns to the wilderness for his inspiration. For Dudley Carter, the cedars of Washington State pose a challenge. First, he locates 3 magnificent trees that will be worthy of his vision. Each one stands 4 stories high and weighs 15 tons. Transported to Portland, Oregon, the giant trees are ready to be shaped by Carter's hand. For 2 years, he will live at the work site. For almost 80 years, Carter has wielded an axe, once as a lumberjack. Today, he shapes sculpture. The inspiration for his designs, American Indian art. Hewing out his creation blow by blow is a test of stamina as well as artistic talent. Driven to meet the deadline for the work's completion, he sometimes labors well into the night. Carter avoids power tools whenever possible. Hammer and chisel allow him to leave the personal signature of his technique in the wood. After 2 full years of unceasing labor, the work is complete. The mammoth sculptures are erected as the focal point of a new shopping center outside Portland. The completed sculpture stands as the towering testament of an artist who, like his work, is an authentic American original. Perhaps no man ever achieved a more monumental physical task in his 90th year. Carvings as timeless as the Indian totem poles which inspired them. In this Paris studio, other sculptures in wood are shaped by a drastically different vision. This former philosophy student has devoted himself to creating a uniquely personal art form. Christian Renoncier is driven by a surprising obsession: to duplicate everyday objects in wood. Copying an ordinary cardboard envelope tests his virtuosity. After curing the wood to make it softer and more workable, he meticulously carves his sculpture, devoting an average of 2 months to a single piece. An even more demanding task is his attempt to fashion a perfect wooden replica of his own boot. At last, the time comes for the objects of the artist's private passion to go on public display. His wooden sculptures, as always, kindle heated controversy. Unlike the masters of the past, Renoncier avoids noble subjects for familiar ones. The artist is dedicated to seeking out the sensuality in mundane objects. For him, The challenge is to preserve the look of the soft folds and creases of fabric using the hard permanence of wood. Christian Renoncier's total concentration on the everyday world contrasts with the startling vision of another artist, Robert Smithson. For Smithson's art attempted nothing less than altering the shape of the land. He would transform a 10-acre site on Utah's Great Salt Lake into an avant-garde work of art known as the Spiral Jetty. Meticulously, he staked out the outline of his concept, one too grandiose for him to achieve alone. Following Smithson's dictates, earth-moving machinery delivered over 300 truckloads of mud and boulders, an avalanche of over 6,600 tons. Rapidly, at the rate of 10 tons per hour, the conception of one man rose from the rubble, a creation of epic scope. When the work was finished in 1970, Smithson had literally put himself on the map as an artist. His achievement was one of the baffling artistic landmarks of the 20th century. The television screen provides the canvas for a revolutionary form, video art. At Paris's Pompidou Museum, a mosaic of television monitors stimulates the eye and boggles the mind. It took the artist Nam June Paik 2 weeks to adjust the colors of the almost 400 sets to his satisfaction. Crowds flock here, rediscovering the magic of television, the most extraordinary communication medium of all. Believe it or not.
Prolific painter Pablo Picasso created more than 400 works of art in only 5 years, between his 85th and 90th birthday. Believe it or not. In a moment, race 1,000 miles across Alaska with a team of hardy huskies. Go to a yoga class for pampered pups in Japan. Take a close look at actual slices of the human body. Find out how torture was once used as a tool of justice.
The Panadol Discovery.
By Julie's wedding day, was I nervous? What a headache. Then surprise, Bobby got leave from Europe. He saw I was hurting and gave me a pain reliever called Panadol.
He discovered it in Europe. 2 tablets are 1,000 milligrams strong and it won't upset my stomach.
I never heard of Panadol, but by the time the guests arrived, my headache was gone. Now Panadol's made here in America.
Discover world-proven Panadol, as strong a pain reliever as you can buy, and it won't upset your stomach.
Back in 1979, I did a commercial that showed my crew repairing this street here in Oklahoma City. We used a fabric underliner developed by Phillips Petroleum that helped streets last longer. And did it work? Absolutely. This street hasn't needed a single repair since then. It's nice to know you can fix something and have it stay fixed, especially when it saves you tax dollars, year after year.
Fine products for you and your car from Phillips Petroleum, the performance company.
Tuesday, Shabu throws a party that's out of this world.
2 new waves.
And gets knocked for a loop on Just Our Luck. Then, when a punk wants Chachi for lunch, can Rocky Fonzarelli save the round? Happy Days, and Jack does it for love.
That's what I get paid for.
But Janet thinks it's for money. Three's Company. Then Madeline and Charlie hit the slopes.
It's 9 degrees. Something could fall off.
Oh, Madeline.
Tuesday, all starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Ripley's Believe It or Not will continue in a moment.
Tuesday, a tennis pro gives Jennifer a lesson in love.
Then I may have to murder him.
Heart to heart.
Mississippi car tag for a 1983 Plymouth Reliant. Okay, that will be $210.
Louisiana car tag for a 1983 Plymouth Reliant. Let's see, that will be $6.
We could move to Louisiana for cheaper car tags, or we could follow their lead and let the people rewrite our old Constitution, the document that burdens us with the most expensive car tags in the nation. Mississippi's old guard politicians have ignored our people for too long. On November the 8th, vote for Gil Carmichael for Lieutenant Governor. He'll put the people first.
It's Melmac Shoes pre-holiday sale on name brand footwear from regular stock. Save 20 to 40% on current fall and winter shoes at Melmac Shoes, Village Fair Mall, Meridian, and Sawmill Square, Laurel.
Whether you're saving for a short trip or a long haul, the payroll savings plan will help make your dreams reality. When you're on the payroll savings plan, money is automatically set aside from each paycheck to buy U.S. savings bonds. When you get bonds regularly and hold on to them, your savings really begin to add up. A public service message from the Advertising Council.
WTOK TV, Meridian.
London, England. For visitors, it abounds in subtle surprises which the British take pride in marking with inviting signs. Preserved here in wax statues, this museum commemorates the dark side of England's history. At one time, in England, you could buy a ticket to see a hanging. You still can, here in a dark, gloomy chamber on Tooley Street. It's called the London Dungeon. During the 17th and 18th centuries, hangings were a common sight, a punishment for such seemingly petty crimes as cutting down a tree or poaching game. But hanging was a popular event. Folks would pay 2 shillings for a seat to watch the proceedings. Justice was swift then, and the guilty rarely got away. Of course, the innocent didn't have much of a chance either. In the quest for truth and justice, the British invented this novel device, the rack. Slowly but surely, the arms and legs of a victim could be pulled from their sockets. Painfully. The object was to induce a suspect to make a confession. It generally worked. For some crimes, punishment was less drawn out. But much more final. Oh, by the way, this is Simon, Lord Lovat, a Jacobite, a traitor to the crown. He has the dubious honor of being the last man to be beheaded in England. Death, however, wasn't always so quick or so relatively painless. Sometimes it came very slowly indeed. Being gibbeted, encased in an iron cage and hung from a handy tree, was another form of punishment. If the victims weren't already dead, they soon would be. The rotting bodies were a common sight in those days, and some people were positively attracted to them. There was a superstition that parts of the corpse had powerful medicinal charms, especially the moss which grew on top of the decomposing skull. The practice, of course, has long been abandoned, but a bit of poetry from that period survives, which captures the flavor of that unenlightened time. Now climb who dare, where he swings in the air and pluck me 5 locks of the dead man's hair. A child's poem, but hardly child's play. By specializing in pain and the instruments of torture, the London Dungeon attracts the sort of audience that might not make the trip to Old Lyme, Connecticut to meet Elizabeth Tashigian.
Fruits don't speak to me. Vegetables don't interest me. But as for nuts, well, that's a different story. They hold my love and interest. They speak to me.
To view the exhibits in what is probably the only museum in the world devoted to nuts, the fee is a small donation and a nut to add to Ms. Tashigian's growing collection of the actual and the artificial. The centerpiece is a 35-pound Coco de Mer nut. For Ms. Tashigian, it is a labor of love.
At one time, the term nut had a bad connotation. But at the museum, through the exhibits, we are gradually doing away with the bad connotation of the word nut. It's more of an affectionate term now.
Nutcrackers in various shapes, including that of a potential raider of her collection, are as honored as the masks, all made from nuts that adorn the museum's walls.
I have created acorn masks, almond, cashew, Brazil nuts. This is the mask of the unknown nut. Notice the question mark? It honors the nut that is not known but exists.
To rescue all nuts from their undeserved obscurity, Ms. Tashigian has composed what is, in effect, a national anthem for nuts everywhere.
Oh, nobody ever thinks about nuts. Nuts can be so beautiful if looked around. Take some home and handle them properly, artistically, and feel a new taste being born.
In Chicago, at the Museum of Science and Industry, tucked away in a corner near a stairwell, is one of the more unusual museum exhibits ever put on display. It attracts the attention of children and adults fascinated with what otherwise they might never see, the insides of an actual human body. To achieve this display, medical school authorities recovered the bodies of a man and a woman who had died of natural causes. Then, the corpses were frozen into solid blocks and cut with a power saw into vertical and horizontal sections that are only half an inch thick. Preserved in a chemical solution, these anatomical sections were originally designed for use as visual aids in the education of medical students. This is a cross-section of human lungs, sliced horizontally across the rib cage. In the 1940s, before electronics revolutionized diagnostic medicine, cross-sections like these were one of the few ways available to get a close look at the internal mechanisms of the human body. In the past, these exhibits were vital to the education of future doctors. Now, they are part of the continuing education of all who want to explore the mysteries contained within each of us. The Victoria and Albert Museum, London. A vast and sprawling place. There are over 7 miles of gallery here, filled with thousands and thousands of priceless treasures. Among them, one so very special, it is called the children's favorite. The one they ask to see more than anything else. A treasure created for the amusement of a sultan. This is the Sultan, Tipu by name, Lord and Master of Mysore in India. They called him Tipu the Tiger. He ate sparrow brains for breakfast, kept over 300 women in his harem, and fought the English savagely in battle after battle, campaign after campaign, as they tried to expand their Indian empire. Finally, Tipu the Tiger, Sultan of Mysore, was slain in combat defending his palace in the year 1799. Among the booty taken from his palace by the conquering English was the Sultan's wonderful toy. This, the children's favorite, the Sultan's mechanical tiger and his English victim. The mayhem is set to music. A hand-cranked organ hidden inside the tiger energizes the mechanism and forces the defeated British soldier to salute the conquering tiger. A reversal of reality, but a constant reminder of the Sultan's doomed determination to emerge victorious. Tipu the Tiger, Sultan of Mysore, may long be dead, but his sentiments regarding his English enemies certainly live on. Museums can be such amusing places. The Museum of Natural History in New York uses carnivorous beetles to strip the flesh from animal skeleton exhibits. Believe it or not. In a moment, see pampered pups living a life of luxury. Visit a cemetery for pets only. Mush across Alaska behind a team of huskies. Probe the hunting secrets of wild dogs in Kenya.
Recently, an independent research firm ran a taste test between Sprite and 7-Up. And the taste people chose most often was the taste of Sprite. That's because Sprite is the only caffeine-free soft drink with limon. And people just seem to love that great limon taste. We like to look at it this way. We gave the people a choice, and more of them made the Sprite one.
It's only Sprite for you.
My turn.
My turn. This new Popeye video game has the boys fighting worse than ever. Oh, Popeye, it's my game. It's got 3 screens just like the arcade. Watch out! Yikes!
Uh-oh. Fight like a man.
Where's me spinach? Yeah!
Up you choke, you wimp.
I ain't wimpy. I'm much better looking.
New Popeye video game available for most popular home video and computer systems.
Here it comes.
The Saxon reaction.
If you don't react to your aftershave like that, switch to new Saxon lotion.
The Saxon reaction.
The reaction's different because the action's different. Saxon's loaded with healthy conditioners high alcohol aftershaves don't have. Soothes, razor burn, protects the skin.
Saxon reaction.
And the comfort lasts.
I love this smell.
Saxon lotion. It's a great feeling.
The Saxon reaction.
Thursday, it's an all-new hour of unexpected laughs.
I've got the buns.
Yes.
When your favorite celebrities get caught.
God, I wish I hadn't said that.
In life's most embarrassing moments. Then, the Trauma Center moves to its new time, 9/8 Central and Mountain.
Stop him!
A thief threatens innocent lives.
Cutter, stop breathing.
And a childish prank goes too far.
We need a chopper.
As a young life hangs in the balance.
6, be careful.
Thursday, starting at 8/7 Central and Mountain.
Years ago, before there were stereo discs, digital tapes, AM and FM, and tweeters and woofers, this is what phonograph records looked like. You played them on machines like this. And there was nothing automatic about these early phonographs. You didn't just sit back and listen. Now, this may not sound like much to us, but 100 years ago, it was a sensation. Everybody seemed to want one of these new devices, and competition to make and sell them was intense. One day, just before the turn of the century, an English painter named Francis Barraud created what he thought would be a surefire advertising gimmick that would give the Edison Company a definite sales advantage. A picture of his dog Nipper listening to their machine. The Edison Company turned him down. The company that became RCA Victor didn't. On his next try, the gramophone company purchased the picture along with its caption, his master's voice. Used to sell phonograph machines and records by the millions, and eventually tens of millions, Nipper soon became one of the most famous dogs in the world. Nipper's appeal is just one indication of the worldwide regard humans have for beloved pets. In Japan, that regard is sometimes taken to outrageous extremes. For example, a restaurant, for dogs only. Meals are prepared with a gourmet's touch, served in serene, comfortable surroundings, and set to music. For other pampered pooches, the Japanese provide personalized yoga exercises. Such devoted attention to luxury in life is matched by an equal concern for the rituals of death. To Buddhists, all animals, even insects, have souls, and therefore all life is to be treated with reverence. In the United States, the death of a pet is sometimes no less a bereavement than the loss of a member of the family. In the selection of a site and suitable monument, there is tangible proof of the love pet owners have for man's best friend. This cemetery in Wantagh, New York, is the final resting place of Richard M. Nixon's famous dog, Checkers, as well as for the pets of less well-known dog lovers.
I got my pet when he was 6 weeks old, and I had him for 13 and a half years. He was a good little dog, and I loved him. And I feel that I owe this to him to maintain a burial place for him, just like people do with each other.
I have a 16-year-old Schnauzer, and I love him so much I even have a little statue of him in the front of my automobile. There's also one in the front of my wife's automobile, and I have one on my golf cart. And when he dies, which, of course, we know is not going to be too far in the future, he will be buried right out here in our pet cemetery, probably alongside of my son's dog. What was his name, Buzz? Wesley. Now, there was a very, very brilliant dog. Phooey. But a lovable thing.
Motivated by love, such cemeteries memorialize an affection between man and dog. In Alaska, that affection is expressed by the pride owners have in the strength and endurance of husky sled dogs. Each year, after undergoing a thorough medical checkup, teams of 50-pound huskies like this set out to pull racing sleds in a competition that is a unique test of their stamina and their owner's skill. The start line is in Anchorage. The finish is in Nome, over 1,000 miles away. The first obstacle is simply to get out of town, but that's the easiest part. After that, wilderness begins. The dogs cover as much as 80 miles a day. For their owners, their health becomes vital. He is now as dependent on them as they are on him. To protect their feet, each dog can be fitted with mittens. And should a dog become ill or injured, it will be evacuated immediately. The race is against time and the unpredictable whims of nature. temperatures can fall to 45 degrees below zero with storms that all but obliterate the trail. After 15 days, the first team arrives. They have run almost 1,100 miles. The man will claim the prize, but it is the dogs who won. In Africa, wild dogs compete for a prize of greater worth, survival itself. For them, life on the vast plains in Kenya requires a close and finely organized family unit. Each new generation of pups born to the pack, sometimes in massive litters of 18 or more at a time, demonstrates the fine balance maintained by nature between supply and demand, predator and prey. Great herds of wildebeests, natural prey of the wild dogs, arrive as if on schedule to graze within sight of the waiting pack. Quietly, almost casually, the dogs begin a process honed by evolution and generations of practice. With their tails flicking to signal their movements, the dogs split into separate units to pursue their common objective. Working in teams, the dogs sort through the herd, seeking out the weak, the aged, or the infirm. By singling out the weakest of the herd, the dogs can wear down their prey and ultimately join forces for the kill. After little more than brief resistance, the wildebeest falls to its attackers. Yet even in this apparently brutal act, the balance of nature is being preserved. For in the death of one wildebeest, there is sustenance for a new generation on the plains of Kenya. Wild dogs like these must compete to live. Some dogs, however, live to compete.
It may seem strange to associate these puppies with ancient tradition, strict rules of combat, and sterling qualities of courage and strength. But don't let the size fool you. These are Tosa dogs, a special crossbreed of animals found here in Kochi, Japan. From the day they're born, the Tosas are prepared and trained for a sport of ritual combat that has many of the same trappings as sumo wrestling. Dog sumo originated here in Japan almost 800 years ago. It is bound by strict, carefully enforced rules. Although low growls are permitted, a bark would immediately disqualify a competitor. As in human sumo, the object is to force an opponent out of the fighting area. But a winning Tosa doesn't always go to his corner voluntarily. Trainers often have to intervene. The end of a fight is not always dignified. As in other sports, the Tosa dogs are ranked by weight, and, as in other sports, honors are bestowed upon the winners. Like their human counterparts in the world of sumo, a champion Tosa dog is awarded a mawashi, the ceremonial sumo belt, along with other colorful symbols of victory. Thank you. The fighting Tosa dogs of Japan, believe it or not. In a moment, learn how to amaze your friends by performing a seemingly impossible trick.
Henry. And put your throat on nice.
Ice for a sore throat?
Nice medicated lozenges. Sugarless Nice showers minor sore throat pain with medicine for temporary relief. And Nice actually absorbs heat to cool your mouth and throat.
It feels slickery.
Slickery?
Yeah, slick, slippery, slickery. And I feel better.
For temporary relief, put your throat on Nice for nice, cool pain relief.
What's this, a space-age toothpaste?
No, it's our Aquafresh with a brand new see-through top. I can see its triple protection formula. Only Aquafresh has it.
The maximum fluoride protection of the leading paste, all the breath freshener of the leading gel, and gentle cleaners that even remove stained film. Concentrated in one complete toothpaste.
And tests prove mothers prefer Aquafresh to the other leading brands.
Triple protection Aquafresh, a complete toothpaste.
Fact. A major bank wrote up a $40,000 loan to Secretary of State Ed Pittman. Fact. Records show he has property loans totaling over $300,000. Question. Who else is Ed Pittman indebted to?
I'm Roger Googe. For 12 years, I worked in the Attorney General's office and was part of the team that fought the utilities. On November the 8th, you will choose between me and a continuation of that fight or a professional politician who really wants to be governor. You're the jury. You decide.
In care. Yet, in fact, nature has seen to it that the life, or the meal, inside this shell is well protected. An egg is a lot stronger than you think. For instance, you can force it through the neck of a bottle smaller than the egg. Impossible? Not if you know the secret. To accomplish this remarkable feat and amaze your friends requires just a bit of preparation. First, the egg, hard-boiled, soaked in vinegar. That's part one. Then, the bottle. You light a small piece of paper very carefully. Don't burn yourself. And once you get it burning properly, you drop it into the bottle, then quickly place the egg on top. And voila, intact and unbroken. Believe it or not.
Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not. Fly down to Rio to clean a spectacular statue. Slurp along with coffee-tasting experts. Witness a ritual that looks like a brawl.
Now it's time to read things on fall favorites.